Welcome to Map Review, a potential series where I take a quick peek at an open fortress map and review it. Today we'll be looking at Deadlock by MegaPieman PhD. Some of you may recognize him from showing up in the comment sections of a few of my videos. Thanks for the support, by the way. He also has a channel of his own which is getting a disproportionately low amount of views for the quality of content he is making, so be sure to check him out. I had hoped to test a few of this guy's maps on the tf2maps.net servers in the past, and I had quite enjoyed most of his work for the most part, so I was looking forward to reviewing his interpretation of the deathmatch game mode found in Open Fortress. Now, how does it play out? Well, what particularly stands out here is the prevalence of angles. Initially, I didn't take note of this design, but once it was pointed out to me, it all made sense. In deathmatch, the overall flow of a map and how each area is related to each other plays a big role in how well received each map is. All I have to say is that the map simply feels nicer to navigate than many other contemporary examples, due to portions of the map needing less sharper turns in order to get from one place to the other, and feeling less boxy as a result. I am aware of how much of a pain it is to deal with angles when designing maps for the source engine, and as someone who has used the Hammer editor in the past, I'll have to tell you, angles suck. Regardless, I'd still like to see more experienced mappers poke at the idea of having more angles in maps, as I feel that this sort of design can greatly add to the overall fun factor of deathmatch. Pieman also made sure that throughout the entirety of the map, the player is able to choose from an array of multiple routes wherever they are, and certain vantage points aren't overly inaccessible either. In conjunction with the balanced mix of tight rooms, open spaces, inner variance, and well, height variation, this makes it so that mercenaries across all skill levels can approach combat each through different means. Speaking of spaces and places, different areas greatly stand out from each other. I know this may seem like a small, if common thing to see, but believe it or not, even some open fortress maps such as Lobster Shore can feel samey in places save for some exceptions. Although if I had to cherry pick some issues, I'd be mostly concerned about weapon selection, or at the very least, weapon distribution. You see, 4 of the 5 burst fire weapons to choose from are concentrated in one half of the entire map, and 3 of those weapons are subsequently the most powerful as well. Seeing how weapon spawns aren't infinite by default, and how essential map control is as a skill, players can end up navigating around these weapons for most of the match, rather than making use of the other half of the map. To me, the map can literally feel imbalanced at times as a result. Also, I think I said the word weapon about 6 times just in this passage alone. I also don't think this flamethrower makes sense. Now, hear me out for a second. I will admit, I do have a bias against the flamethrower, seeing how it's my least favorite weapon to use, but having a low damage, close range weapon that is more reliant on flanking, spawning right out in the open doesn't click with me personally. Perhaps the super shotgun and flamethrower spawns could switch places, seeing how the former already spawns near an overall tighter area. I know that the super shotgun is also a close range weapon, but it's still a more desired pick, to the point where risking exposure to grab it would be more justified. Although one could say that this is just a product of my opinion. I also don't like the lack of health packs, seeing how these little pill things can only heal you for so much. The only other source of health is this medium health kit, as far as I'm aware anyway. And as a result, I felt as if I was on low health during a good majority of the match. Ammo kits are also scarce, though they aren't nearly as problematic, seeing how most weapons already have decent ammo to begin with. If anything, I would consider adding 1 or 2 small health kits, somewhere at the very least. Now, some of those points may come across as nitpicky by then, but truth be told, I can't really fault the map any further. Not until I play more of the map and stumble upon some new findings anyway. Overall, Deathlock is a solid map that pays great attention to what I look for in a good map, and is subsequently one of my personal favorites. With that in mind, Deathlock gets a... I'm not even gonna edit this out. Deathlock gets a B+ from me if I had to give some visual indicator of my thoughts on the map. I personally wish that this map, along with other maps in general, were played more often, as more playtime would further encourage updates to these sort of maps.